Welcome into the weekend wrap-up with Trevor Junt. I'm Trevor Junt, and this is Von Druin. In this show, we'll discuss all the NFL games that happened this weekend with a 2-minute timer. So with that being said, let's get started.
Yeah, so the first contest we're going to talk about is the Jacksonville-Arizona game. Now, this one was well contested for most of the game, which a lot of people thought was unexpected. Arizona opened things early with a Kyler keeper late in the first quarter, and then things got exciting for Jacksonville at the end of the first half, with Trevor Lawrence leading a 9-play, 74-yard touchdown drive, finishing on a 12-yard dish to DJ Chark with 21 seconds on the clock. Then after a short drive, Arizona kicker Josh Lambo was short on a 68-yard field goal attempt, and Jacksonville had Jamal Agnew back to return. And what did he do? He took it the length of the field for an NFL record-tying 109-yard kick six. Jacksonville then led 13-7 at the half. In the third quarter, teams exchanged touchdown drives. Jacksonville's James Robinson led the charge with 68 yards rushing, including a 4-yard score, and then Christian Kirk returned the favor for Arizona with 51 yards receiving, leading to a 4-yard James Conner touchdown. Late in the third, Jacksonville coach Urban Meyer tried a flea flicker that seemed broken from the start, as Lawrence, with J.J. Watt in his grill, heaved up an easy pick six for Byron Murphy as Arizona took a 5-point lead and never looked back. After another James Conner rushing score, Arizona sealed the win with 2 strip sacks of the rookie Lawrence and won the game 31-19. Murray finished 28-34 for 316 yards as Christian Kirk and A.J. Green both crossed the century mark. It was Green's first 100-yard effort since 2018 with the Bengals. Golden Boy Lawrence finished 22-34 for 219 yards, 1 touchdown, and 4 total turnovers. Arizona moves to 3-0, while Jacksonville extends their losing streak to 18 games, 8 shy of the NFL record.
And I'll tell you what, man, Trevor Lawrence and just all the rookie quarterbacks have not looked right at all this season. They just have not looked as they were coming into the season. They looked great. And then also, to speak on the 109-yard play, that's the second time that's ever happened. I mean, that's the third time that's ever happened in NFL history. Right. Cordero Patterson did it on a kick return, and then Antonio Cromartie did it on the exact same thing, a field goal return. With that timer, let's hop into the next game.
Yeah, so on the note of disappointing first-year quarterbacks, we have the New York Jets playing the Denver Broncos. This game was a mismatch before, during, and after. Denver started it off with Javonte Williams pounding in a goal line score, and then continued scoring with a 45-yard field goal from Brandon McManus on the next drive. They then added a Melvin Gordon 1-yarder to make it 17-zip at the half. The Jets' offense, looked behind second overall pick Zach Wilson, looked completely inept all game. Their longest drive was 6 plays, 34 yards, and it ended on an unsuccessful 4th-and-1 try. McManus added 3 more field goals to finish a perfect 4-4 and 2 of 2 on extra points, as Denver embarrasses New York 26-0.
I'll tell you what, too. With Denver has probably the most stacked roster in the league that we've seen. Maybe the Rams and Denver. So they have the wide receivers, Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. Judy's injured, and Hamler got injured, so that's not good. But Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams at running back, and even Noah Fant at tight end. He's a good tight end.
Absolutely.
The defense is spectacular, but the only issue is really like the quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. What's your opinion on Teddy Bridgewater?
Well, he's been solid all season so far. I mean, no one really expected too much from him. But with 259 total yards of offense this week, I mean, he's still showing them he can stay in there and lead this team to a position to win the game.
So with that point being said, Denver is 3-0, but their opponents have a combined record of 0-9.
That's right.
So that's insane. They have the highest point differential in the league, but the schedule changes now. They face really good teams coming up. They face the Ravens, the Steelers, the Raiders, the Browns, and then they also have to play Kansas City and the Chargers twice a season. So I don't know. I see the Broncos riding high right now, but I see them getting real low later on in the season.
Yes, yeah, but I mean, Denver 3-0 for the first time in 2016 gives a lot of the fans in the Mile High City something to be excited about.
I'd agree. Let's go to the next game.
Sure thing. So next up on the list is Indy and Tennessee. Now this game between the AFC South rivals clashing once again was tight from the jump. Ryan Tannehill was moving the ball efficiently, and he struck first with a 6-yard pass to Chester Rogers for an early lead, but he proved inconsistent as he swapped picks and touchdowns for the next 3 drives. And turnovers early on helped Indy turn in great field position and a Nyman Himes rushing score and Rodrigo Blankenship field goal before the half made it 14-10 Titans. In the third, after Carson Wentz missed 3 straight throws in the red zone, the Colts settled for 3 to cap a 17-play drive, which could not have been fun. Indy then couldn't capitalize on a fumble recovery as 2 Wentz incompletions and a sack killed all of their momentum. Tennessee finally got some separation with a Jeremy McNichols touchdown catch and a 2-point conversion from Derrick Henry. The teams then exchanged field goals the next 2 drives, and after the GOAT Blankenship uncharacteristically missed a 51-yard attempt, the Titans ran out the clock for an ugly 25-16 dub. Weak bone Wentz and his 2 sprained ankles went 19 of 37 for 194 yards, and Michael Pittman Jr. managed 68 on 6 hauls.
Rodrigo Blankenship is so exciting.
He's so awesome, dude. I love him. So the Colts are 0-3 for the first time since their bottom-dwelling 2011 season, which we all remember. And Tennessee now leads their division with a record of 2-1.
So I don't know what you see in this division, but I just see it as a weak division.
Yeah, not much.
The NFC East and also the AFC. What is this? The AFC. This is the AFC West. No, it's not. It's the AFC South. It's the AFC South. My bad. I didn't get that.
Yeah,
but it's just not strong. So I think that the divisional winner only needs 9 wins to win the division. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I mean, if not one of those weird situations where you don't even need to have a winning record. I mean, with the 17-game season, that's more likely. But yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing anything from the Texans, from anyone except really the Titans, and they've been pretty disappointing so far. Managed to squeak out that win against the Seahawks, but that's about it.
Let's hop into the next game.
Yeah, so speaking of the Seahawks, the last time my Hawks visited Minnesota was for the frozen 10-9 wild card game that made a legend of Doug Baldwin and a villain out of Blair Walsh. But last week, Seattle's offense was clicking right away, with Russell finding DK Metcalf for 55 yards and a touchdown on their opening drive. But Kirk Cousins answered right back with a scoring drive of his own, capped by a 7-yard dump off to Tyler Conklin. After a Jason Myers field goal and a 30-yard scamper from Chris Carson, Cousins exploited the Seahawks D for an 85-yard drive that ended on Adam Thielen's snag in the end zone. Late in the second, Myers missed a 44-yarder by inches, ending a streak that was a franchise record of 37 straight made from the field. The Vikings then came right back and took a 21-17 lead on Justin Jefferson's first touchdown of the year. The offenses faded in the second half a bit, but Minnesota still managed 3 strong drives to allow kicker Greg Joseph to make all 3 of his attempts on the day. Meanwhile, Seattle could only muster 96 total yards of offense after halftime, and Minnesota emerged as a 30-17 victor. Their first win against the Seahawks in the Pete Carroll era. Cousins finished 30-38 for 323 yards and 3 scores. Wow. And backup running back Alexander Madison, in for Dalvin Cook, ran for 112 on 28 touches, and Jefferson caught 9 balls for 118 with the 1 score. Meanwhile, Wilson went 23-32 for 298 and a touchdown. Carson had 80 on 12 attempts, and DK caught 6 for 107 yards, including a second touchdown of 2021. Seattle is now 1-2, last place in the tough NFC West, while the Vikings pick up their first win of the campaign.
So, okay, one point on the Vikings. The Vikings are 1-2 right now, as you said. But this might be the most deceiving record I've ever seen. Well, at least
you think so?
In week 3. So the first game they lost in a fumble against the Bengals. They lost due to a fumble in overtime against the Bengals. And then in Arizona, they missed that kick to win the game, you know? And then in this game, they come out and their offense is just rolling. I don't think Kirk Cousins attempted to pass over 10 yards. It was like over 15 yards in this game. And then they just did the screens, and that was working. And Alexander Madison, he has 3 100-yard games in his career, and 2 of them are against the Seahawks.
Yep.
I don't know, man. Let's move on. That's the end of your games, is that right?
Yeah.
So let's hop into 2 of my games. New Orleans versus New England. So New Orleans is coming off that embarrassing loss to Carolina, and they just look like pretenders to me. Watching this game, Jameis isn't doing anything special. He went 13 for 21 and 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. The offensive line is awesome, obviously, because it's New Orleans. And then Sean Payton is a great schemer. He knows how to scheme games well. But the Saints only had 252 total yards. That's not going to win them games against actually good teams. New England is good. Obviously, Bill Belichick is the GOAT. He knows how to scheme well. But, I mean, without Brady, they just don't look the same. Mac Jones threw the ball 51 times. 51 times. That's insane. For 270, 1 touchdown and 3 interceptions. The 3 interceptions, by the way, are very out of character for Mac Jones. Mac Jones is just a guy that doesn't make mistakes. He's a really calculated guy. But 2 of them were from drops. One of them came off the hands of Jonnu Smith, and the other one I think bounced off Kendrick Bourne. But I don't know, man. The Patriots don't look like anything special, and also New Orleans just looks like pretenders to me.
Damn, that's crazy, man. It seems to me like Belichick wants to think Mac Jones can just pop in and kind of produce like Brady did even early on in his career, but I really don't think he's built like that. I believe he will be a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback if given the right opportunities, but I don't know. I'm not really high on him yet. I'll have to see how he does, and I think overusing him with 51 pass attempts, doesn't help falling behind early in games, but I just don't want them to kind of ruin his career early on. I think he has a lot of potential.
So also, with that, the Patriots lost their first 2 home games for the first time since 2000. That was when Bill Belichick first became their head coach.
Yeah.
So I don't know. They're just neither of these teams are special to me, and they don't look like actual contenders. Let's go to the next game. Probably the ugliest game of the week: Atlanta versus the Giants. Matt Ryan is washed. Honestly, he's done. He's 36 years old. Just hasn't looked right for like 3 or 4 seasons, and he's a year younger than Aaron Rodgers and almost a decade younger than Tom Brady. But their careers are thriving, and he's dwindling. So that's what I see from Atlanta. It's ridiculous to me also that their defense is so bad. It's so bad. And then with the 4th pick, they're like, you know what? Let's take a tight end. Let's take Kyle Pitts. And also, they don't even use Kyle Pitts right. He had 4 targets. Oh, my bad. He had 3 targets in this game for 2 receptions and 35 yards. Put him on a milk carton because he is missing. And then with the Giants, it's the Giants, man. I don't know. They haven't had a good, consistent coach since Tom Coughlin. Since 2017, the Giants have started 0-5, 0-2, 0-2, 0-5 again, and 0-3. They are so poorly run, from Joe Judge, the head coach, Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator, to Dave Gettleman, the GM, and then the owner, John Mara. But who, by the way, wants the taunting rule? He was the main owner about the taunting rule. So really? we have something against John Mara here. What's your opinion on? I would say, let's say the Atlanta or the Giants. Go ahead and go into that.
I haven't seen much of Atlanta's defense. All I know is that any fantasy player I have playing Atlanta, I put them in my lineup.
Absolutely.
They haven't been much over the last few years as far as defense goes. I think they had the lowest scoring defense last year, if I'm not mistaken. But it doesn't seem like they can develop good outside defensive players, and they haven't had a real playmaker on that defense in a couple years now, it seems. And about Matty Ice, man, like, I don't know what happened to him. I don't know if losing Julio had too much to do with that, but he just doesn't look right, and it's pretty disappointing to watch. I would like to know real quick about Saquon. Do you think he's looking good so far?
So Saquon actually looked like Saquon on Sunday. So, he looks back, and that's very exciting. If you're a fantasy owner, obviously you're excited that Saquon's back as well. You have Saquon in a few leagues? Yeah, I think he's back. He looked well. Their offensive line is trash, but Saquon can produce anyway. He gets over 100 receptions,
you can trust him.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, Yvonne, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Of course,
we
man.
enjoyed having you and hope to have you again.
It's been a pleasure, dog.
Cool. And then let's get your bike going. Good job, Vaughn.
Sweet.
That was really good, man.
I'm gonna cut down a little bit next time.
Hey, it's fine, dude. You did well.
Thanks,
You
dog.
gonna play a basketball game now?
Yeah. Gotta go yam on it.
All right, go ahead and get this clipped on, and then just start talking into it.
Okay.
You can get your.
What should I, right here? That good? Hello?
That's perfect.
How you doing? Okay, my question is, do we even cut this, or do we just keep this in the show? Because I mean, this is authentically part of the show.
You're loving this. You're thriving.
Where do I clip this?
I say, dude, just clip it anywhere. Put it in your pocket if you'd like to.
Okay.
Can you talk to Alex and see if his audio levels are okay?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Just keep talking.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I hope my voice doesn't give out from this. I was drinking tea and honey all day, and I tried to shut up, but it's really hard for
Yeah,
me to
yeah,
shut
I mean,
up.
I can't
I'm
shut
a
up
talker. Like I see someone, I'm like, what's going on over there? Oh. Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Oh.
You're good. You're good. Awesome.
Perfect.
Does he sound good?
All right. Hold on. I got everything on my notes on my phone here.
Have a conversation, but keep it, formally, as if you're recording.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I
absolutely.
think we're gonna keep this in the show anyway.
Cool.
This is just talking about football, man.
Yeah.
What games were you able to watch this weekend?
So I do a little bit of red zone. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
red zone, so I kind of cheat. But
That's
but obviously I watched the Seahawks. Sunday night game was awesome, so I got to watch the full Packers and Niners game, which we're going to talk about in a second.
yeah.
And then the morning games, was the Baltimore and Detroit, the 10 a.m.
Yeah.
I think so. So I watched a lot of that one, obviously because we're going to cover that. And then was kind of just flipping around on red zone while I was watching that one too.
So, dude, I'll give you my honest opinion about red zone. I hate it.
Really?
Yeah, I hate red zone.
Really?
I'd much
I think
ra-
it's like crack. It's like I think it's like one of the most addicting things. I will sit there and I will watch it for like 7 straight hours. And but
Okay.
except
Is
for when the Seahawks.
Is
are
it Scott Hansen?
Yeah.
He's
yeah.
okay. He's a
Scott
red zone.
Hansen's way better than who's the other guy?
Andrew.
Siciliano.
Yeah, yeah.
Go. Your audio is perfect, and you guys can head into the show whenever you want.
Okay,
Okay,
I say
which-
we just continue talking
which
about this for a second.
ones do you want to start with?
Whatever you. Thank you, Vaughn. But okay, go on about red zone. I'm sorry.
No, I love red zone. I will sit there because there's no commercials. So like sometimes I will like get up and I'll be like, oh god, and I'll realize I haven't moved for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
I've just been sitting there, just football
Yeah.
all the time. So I love red zone. I think it's one of the most greatest inventions since like sliced bread. I love red zone because there's no commercials and it's just touchdowns all the time. So I think it's fun. I think it's awesome.
So I wouldn't call myself old-headed, but the thing with red zone is I want to watch and see how this developed, like
Yeah,
how they drove
fair
down
enough,
the field.
fair
you know?
enough.
If like I watched the Chargers and Chiefs game, and it was so much fun just to see them going back and forth. You know.
Well, sometimes I'll actually like switch over to a game when it's like something like the Chargers and Chiefs because obviously that was a really good game. Or, like the Sunday night, I'll watch the full thing and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I do like getting that too. But definitely for those, like, when it's like 10 a.m. and there's nobody I really care about coming on, then I'll just sit there and watch it. But
Awesome, dude. Let's hop into your games.
yeah, let's go. So the first one, Chargers versus Kansas City. So kind of an upset here. Well, kind of, because we're kind of seeing how good Kansas City and the Chargers are. Chargers might actually be really good this year. You don't know. Kansas City looking a little rough right now. They were getting a lot of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. They ended up winning the game 30-24. It was kind of back and forth all game. Turnovers were killing Kansas City in the first half. I think they had 3 turnovers in the first half, a couple fumbles, a couple interceptions. So that really kept the Chargers in the game. And obviously, if you let a team that's not as good as you hang around, that's what happens. And I mean, Herbert's good enough to where if you let him hang around and keep the Chargers in the game, then they might be able to beat you down the stretch. And Herbert played really good down the stretch. He ended up having a pretty good game himself. He's got a laser arm. I mean, he's
Yeah.
probably one of the most exciting quarterbacks to watch.
Oh man, we forgot to time it.
That's
Just
all
keep
right.
going, keep going, keep going.
No worries. And Mahomes, he had a couple interceptions this game. It wasn't his best, but his offensive line wasn't really helping him out too much. They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire involved in the game a lot more this time. He's obviously kind of had a rough last year and beginning of this season, not being as involved in the offense as I think a lot of people thought he would be when he got drafted.
Yeah.
So it was kind of nice to see him actually get some touches. He got a touchdown. He did fumble again. That's kind of been an issue with him. They were really mad at him after last week. But yeah, it was a great game going down the stretch. Obviously, it was tied at 24 as the Chargers got that interception that Mahomes threw down the stretch. And then
By the way, that was an awful throw.
that was really bad. That's why I was like, oh, Mahomes not looking too great. Obviously, he's an amazing quarterback. But, yeah, that was a pretty bad decision. It was kind of like a punt thrown.
Yeah. And in clutch time too, you can't do that.
You can't do that, and it's very unlike him to do
Yeah.
that kind of stuff because he's so clutch. I mean, obviously Super Bowl winner, MVP, but yeah, and then Justin Herbert just calm, cool, and collected on that last drive going down the field and getting that last touchdown. They really could not stop Mike Williams on that last drive.
Mike Williams had
he
himself a
had
game.
himself a day.
Yeah.
And I mean, the last two, the one that set him up with first and goal, I believe, and then the one that actually scored the touchdown, they just threw it up to him. He wasn't even that open. He just kind of made a play on the ball. And when you got a big wide receiver like that, sometimes it's just as simple as like just put it somewhere near him and hope he can go make a play, kind of like Metcalf sometimes.
Mike Williams is also on a contract here, so
that's true.
that's when people perform, man.
That's
When
true.
money's on the line, they're going to perform well. Another thing I just want to say with this game, man, this is the next quarterback rivalry.
Yeah.
You know, like Kenny Stabler and Terry Bradshaw back in the '70s, and then Tom Brady and Peyton Manning were great. Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes will play each other twice a year.
Every
year for what? I mean, they have 15 years left.
I'm going to say they're both probably going to be at least 12 to 15-year starters. It's awesome that they're in the same division.
Yeah.
So we're going to get it twice a year, every year, and probably some playoffs at some point.
If you're a football fan, you should be excited about this.
And they're both awesome quarterbacks.
They are. Let's hop into your next game.
Yeah, let's go to a little bit less exciting than the last one, Buffalo, Washington, the football team. This one was kind of crazy in the first half. So Buffalo obviously just came out swinging. I mean, they were up 21-0 before you could even blink an eye. But props to Washington. They did get that touchdown, and then that crazy not onside kick, but they recovered.
The kicker?
They recovered the kickoff, yeah. So
The
it
kicker recovered it,
It went
yeah,
to
right.
about the 20, 15-yard line and just bounced straight back, and he ended up recovering his own kick.
Dustin Hopkins.
That was kind of cool. I actually had never. I don't know if I've ever seen that before. An unintentional recovery of an onside, or not? Yeah, unintentional onside kick. But then they went down and scored again. I mean, Heineke he's hit or miss. Sometimes he's actually pretty exciting, but you know he's kind of just a serviceable quarterback. They really do need to find somebody for the future in Washington because Heineke's not really going to be the guy. And then we kind of saw that the Washington football team's defense is kind of overrated. I would say,
the same thing.
you know, they got a lot of hype after last year, but they were just playing some really bad quarterbacks, and that's how they got all their stats to be one of the best defenses in the league. And then the Bills' offense is rolling. I mean, they're unbelievable, and Josh Allen was awesome today. I think 358 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was super exciting to watch. He looks like he really calmed down after that Week 1 loss to the Saints, which, you know, sometimes Week 1's crazy. So obviously that was just kind of a fluke. But their offense is rolling. Obviously scored 43 points tonight. You know, props to Washington. They tried to, but they really ran into a buzzsaw on Sunday. And then props to Josh Allen for spreading the ball around. I mean, Cole Beasley, 12 catches for over 100 yards. You had Stephon Diggs with 64 yards as well, too. And then you also had Emmanuel Sanders with 94 yards. So, I mean, they just got weapons. And then, of course, Zach Moss in the backfield, too, running the ball for him as well, too. So I just think the Bills they look like the actual Super Bowl contender we thought they were going into the season.
So with the Bills, I was going to say, they look like one of the only teams in the league that have an elite offense and an elite defense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a real Super Bowl winning team. And then just a fact with Josh Allen, he's the first player since Norm Van Brocklin in 1950 and 1951 with multiple games of 4+ passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdowns through their age 25 season.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a cool stat.
Yeah, no, that's unbelievable. Anytime you can set a record going back that far, you know, it's pretty impressive.
Let's go into your next game. What's your next game?
So the next one, sorry, Lions fans might want to stop watching right now. Let's go Baltimore, Detroit.
Okay.
And I mean, for a franchise that has had just excruciating losses throughout their franchises, this one's up there with one of the worst. So obviously Baltimore won 19-17. And the Lions were even lucky to stay in this game. I mean, the first half, Lamar was awesome. He finished with about 350 yards and a couple touchdowns. And he really has to do it all for them with how many injuries they have. So Lamar was awesome. They were up 13-0 at halftime. And it would have been a lot more if Marquise Brown, I'm not calling him Hollywood Brown anymore because he had 3 drops in the first half there. It probably would have been 20, 28-0. at halftime and been completely over if he would have put a little bit of stickum on his hands. But anyway, it was 13-0 at halftime.
He has those gloves, dude. Those are better than Stickum.
I know he does have those gloves, and he's normally a great wide receiver, so obviously just a bad day for him at the office. But props to the Lions. I mean, Dan Campbell has them fighting. They're competitive in every game they play.
They're biting at those kneecaps.
They're biting at the kneecaps. They're biting at the kneecaps. Hey, I love him. He's a maniac, by the way. But they came back. They went ahead 17-16 going into the final minute of the game. Lamar obviously gets the ball back. Crazy conversion on 4th down and 19 to keep the game alive. And I mean, I feel like every Lions fan's heart just dropped when they converted that 4th down. Because you knew after that they were winning.
There was 26 seconds to go.
26 seconds left. And then, of course, the story of the game, Justin Tucker making the new record for field goals with a 66-yarder as time expired, hit off the crossbar and goes in. And, just brutal. Brutal for the Lions to, because the previous record was set against them as well too, and that game ended 19-17 as well. So I mean, it's just deja vu for them all over again. Pretty brutal if you're a Lions fan. But you know what? The Ravens kept their playoff hopes alive. Good win for them. Obviously, Lamar's kind of just doing it all for them, and the defense played really well too.
So to hop in on the Justin Tucker field goal, so he beat that record by 2 yards.
Yeah.
It was 64 yards, and now he beat it to 66. Okay, this is a crazy thought. Okay, Adam Vinatieri, I understand. He's amazing. He's probably the most clutch kicker of all time. But Justin Tucker, in my opinion, is the best kicker of all time. I've never seen anybody better. So he leads the league all-time in kicking percentage with 90.741%. And also, a stat that I learned yesterday, which is wild, he's 16 for 16 on final field goals to end the game in regulation. He's never missed a game-winning kick.
Yeah, he's one of the most clutch kickers we've ever seen. Obviously, he hasn't got to do it in too many of the high-stake situations that Vinatieri did, obviously being part of those crazy successful Patriots teams in the 2000s. But he's one of the most clutch kickers in the history of the sport. I would say he's probably our generation's, most clutch kicker.
Yeah.
He's one of the best kickers in the history of the game. Just automatic, really. I didn't necessarily think he was going to make it in this one, but having faith in him, it was an unbelievable kick, and just the fact that it hit off the crossbar to go in. But it's kind of like a Brady-Rodgers debate, where obviously, you got skill versus the accolades, kind of the clutchness versus just like raw skill. As Brady and the Rodgers, obviously Rodgers might be more talented than Brady, but Brady's just more of a winner, and obviously has done it at the highest level. Kind of the same with Vinatieri and Tucker. So yeah, I would say that Tucker's probably the best kicker we've ever seen.
Well, we're pushing time, so let's go.
Sorry,
to the next
my bad.
No.
I'm a talker.
No, hey, dude, I'm loving this. You're loving this. We're talking football. We're having a good time with everybody that's watching as well. It's okay if we get a bit above, man. It's okay. What's your next game? Is it Cincinnati and Pittsburgh?
Yeah, we are actually the next one I had was San Francisco Green Bay.
Okay.
So obviously probably the best game of the weekend.
Yeah.
It was nice that it was on Sunday night. It's always nice to finish off that Sunday.
These
with the
primetime
best game of the
games have
week.
been insane.
They've been really nice this year. Obviously, the Sunday night they try to give us the best matchup as compared to Thursday night, where sometimes we get the poop fecta of the week. But yeah, the Sunday night game was awesome. Obviously, Rodgers looks insane, back to normal, back to his MVP caliber play. And then, honestly, San Francisco gave him a really good fight, and it was going to come. We knew it was going to come down to the last second. The thing is, for the Packers, it just, Aaron Rodgers, you can't give him any time. You can't give him 30 seconds and no timeouts because he's still going to beat you. But I think the main storyline of the game here was the Rodgers-Adams connection is pretty much just unstoppable.
Yeah.
I mean, he finished with 12 receptions, 132 yards, and a touchdown. It just seemed like he was open all night long. And the San Francisco 49ers, the fact that they didn't double-team him on that last drive was kind of insane to me because he was open all game. They did not have an answer for him.
Speaking of Devontae Adams, you saw that hit, right?
Yeah, that was absurd.
Okay, so Jimmy Ward hit him head on head, just helmet to
went
helmet.
limp.
Okay, he went back in the game like like a few plays after that.
Yeah.
Dude, what is the concussion protocol in the NFL?
I don't know, but they have a specific guy watching to make sure that those type of guys don't go back in after they take a hit like that.
And by the way, after he went in, he did those clutch catches and they helped win the game.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, maybe somebody on the Green Bay team like slid the guy maybe like a couple dollars so that he could be like, he's fine. You know, how many fingers am I holding up? 2, 3, it doesn't matter. But yeah, no, that was actually a really scary hit. Obviously, kind of went numb for a second there. But he had an amazing game, and then yeah, they needed him down the stretch there. And then San Francisco, they're still a great team. I do think they still are a Super Bowl contender. I like them. I think Garoppolo played actually pretty well. He just kind of has a couple mistakes here and there that kind of costed him down the stretch.
Before we jump into the other game, dude, I'll tell you what. I was a guy that hated on Aaron Rodgers. I'm a Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
So I was like, I hate this guy Aaron Rodgers. But I think I've grown to appreciate him as a player. I disliked Tom Brady when I was younger, and then after the Super Bowl against the Falcons, I was like, whoa, this is history that we're watching. This guy's amazing. So, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just a man after my own heart, okay? He said after the game, how can you not be romantic about football? And that was just the perfect quote for me, man. If he said that before I graduated high school, that would have been my senior year quote. I don't know, man. I'm beginning to like Aaron Rodgers.
So I haven't been too much of a hater on Aaron Rodgers, obviously because the Seahawks have beaten the Packers quite a bit in the last decade or so. But I agree with what you said about Brady. We do kind of come around on these legends and be like, wow, we really are watching greatness. I mean, yeah, watching Aaron Rodgers kind of orchestrate those last few drives to put him up and score those touchdowns down the stretch, it was pretty cool to watch. And you can actually really have an appreciation and just be like, I am watching one of the best to ever do it at their position. So I totally understand where you're coming from there.
And then your other game was Cincinnati and Pittsburgh?
Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, and there's trouble in the Steel City.
Yeah.
So obviously Cincinnati won 24-10. The game was in Pittsburgh, so it's trouble for the Pittsburgh right now. They're going to have to decide what to do with Big Ben. It's going to be a long season if he's at the helm the rest of the way. He looked old. He looked kind of slow, and Cincinnati was getting pressure all day against their offensive line. And he's not the quarterback that's ever been really that mobile. Obviously, he's a big guy.
On their offensive line, by the way, man, they have 5 new starters on their offensive line. So.
And it looked like it on Sunday.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was under pressure all the time, getting hit. It caused a couple of interceptions, fumbles. He looked uncomfortable all day. Now, he still had a decent stat line. I mean, over 300 yards passing and stuff like that.
Well, he threw the ball 58 times.
But that's going to always come when you throw the ball that many times. And, Najee Harris obviously looks really good for them as well, too. He was kind of the bright spot for them on the day.
He tied the record for the most receptions by running back with 14.
Yeah, I saw his rushing stats, and I was like, oh, not that great of a day. And then I saw his receiving stats, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very multi-purpose back coming out of the backfield. So he's a bright spot for them, and he's obviously going to be their starter for the next few years. They got that position at least solid for them, but they're going to have to be looking at a quarterback. If they really want to go deep in the playoffs, they're going to either have to trade for somebody, Minshew, or draft a quarterback this offseason, because obviously Big Ben's at the end of his stretch here. And Jamar Chase had a really good game for the Bengals as well, too. It's really cool seeing him and Burrow connecting after being at LSU together. They had a great connection there. They have a great connection in Cincinnati, so it's pretty fun to watch. And it's good for him because everybody was kind of worried about him going into the season with that comment about not being able to catch the ball because of not having the lines on it. But obviously he made some great catches on that one touchdown right before the second half to put him in ahead 14-7 going into halftime. But he looks awesome.
Also, on Jamar Chase, man, he has 4 receiving touchdowns. And then before the season, people were saying he can't get separation. He can't catch the ball. And then he's doing this. Yeah. That might be like the greatest practical joke of all time.
Yeah, I don't know. He must have been joking about it or trying to throw people off the scent with it. But, yeah, he looks awesome so far. And when Joe's not getting pressure right up in his face and has a little bit of time to sit back, he's awesome.
So the thing with Jamar Chase and then Penny Sewell as well. So people wanted to draft Sewell. But the thing is, man, if you actually look at their next-gen stats, it was the guards that were allowing sacks, not the tackles. So we're seeing Joe Burrow doing better this season, because they upgraded at guard. And then speaking on Pittsburgh, before we jump into my other 2 games or 3 games, Pittsburgh, T.J. Watt is injured. Stephon Tuitt's injured. Aluwalu is injured. Highsmith is injured. And the entire Pittsburgh defense is just depleted. You know, it's awful. And then obviously the offense can't score.
They had a tough time putting up points against a Cincinnati defense that's, you know, not really that great. It's not like they're going in and playing, you know, the Patriots or something like that. This isn't a great defense. It's serviceable, but not being able to put up more than 10 points against them is cause for concern.
So let's hop into the Cleveland and Chicago game. So Cleveland had 9 sacks in this game. Myles Garrett himself had 4.5. And I'm hoping someone like Myles Garrett or Chandler Jones can break the single-season sack record. Because I don't know if you know the history behind that single-season sack record, but Michael Strahan has it. And to get the record, Brett Favre sat down and let Michael Strahan touch him. And that record is tainted for me. I just don't respect it. And then Baker is doing all he needs to do. He doesn't have to carry this team. He never will, I don't think. The defense is doing well. He just needs to let them do well and run the ball, and then don't make any mistakes, which he didn't. He didn't have an interception. He went 19 for 31 with 246 yards and a touchdown. And then Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, that might be the best two-punch running combo that we've seen maybe ever. But maybe like Bo Jackson and Marcus, what's his name?
Marcus Allen.
Yeah, Marcus Allen and Bo Jackson. They were for like a season. But Nick Chubb had 84 rushing yards. Kareem Hunt had 105 all-purpose yards and a touchdown. And they're probably both top 10 backs in the league.
Yeah, I would say so. Nick Chubb is probably a top 5 running back in the league. Kareem Hunt is obviously awesome as well, too. And I hate to call Baker a game manager because I do love Baker, but he doesn't have to do a whole lot.
Yeah.
His wide receivers do a good job of getting him separation. He just has to make good decisions and just try not to turn the ball over and simply just hand it off to his 2 great running backs, and they're probably going to be okay with that defense they got back there.
So then jumping into Chicago, so the hopes were high for Justin Fields, man. I was excited for Justin Fields. I think everybody on the planet was excited for Justin Fields. But he only had 68 passing yards. Also, they had 67 yards on sacks. So that means they had a net passing yards of 1 yard. But I don't really blame this on Fields. The O-line couldn't block anybody, and Matt Nagy, known for being the guy that just makes mistakes, Matt Nagy did not scheme up Justin Fields at all. He had all offseason to scheme up for this guy, and he make a good offense for a mobile quarterback who can make elite plays, and he just didn't. It was disastrous by Nagy and straight up ugly. What's your opinion on Matt Nagy and the Justin Fields situation?
So I think Matt Nagy is going to be the first coach fired this season. What I saw on Sunday was honestly atrocious. The fact that he didn't change his game plan at all from Andy Dalton to Justin Fields, who are 2 very different quarterbacks, is appalling. And I'm almost at the point where I think he may be doing it to justify his decision to start
That's
Andy
what I kind
Dalton,
of feel like too.
because there was no chance that they were going to win that game. That from the second that game kicked off, there was no chance. They didn't have him rolling out. There was no RPO. I don't really understand what Matt Nagy was doing at all, and I think depending on how the next few weeks go, he could be the first coach out of there.
I agree.
I think they probably want to start new, new quarterback, get a new coach in there as well too. Have somebody
Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy would be a really good hire. That would actually be a really solid hire. And just somebody that can scheme for Justin Fields and then try to get him some help on the offensive line, because Myles Garrett had a field day. The whole defense had a field day. That was pretty frustrating to watch. I do feel really bad for Justin Fields because he's just getting demolished back there. And we saw it coming in the preseason with that one hit against Buffalo where he got his helmet taken off. So, yeah, poor guy. Hopefully they get him some more protection this season.
So before we jump into the next game, I do want to say this. I think Cleveland are real Super Bowl contenders as well. Okay, and the next game was Miami and Las Vegas. So Derek Carr is playing out of his mind. He's the only quarterback this year to throw for over 300 yards in each of the 3 games. And then the Raiders are the first team ever to start 3-0 against teams that won 10 or more games the season prior. That's crazy. And also the last time the Raiders went 3-0, they won the Super Bowl. So there's something there. They're one of the 5 undefeated teams left. And then before I make a joke about the Raiders, let me just make it clear: the Raiders got clowned all offseason. People hated on Mike Mayock. People hated on John Gruden, saying he wasn't a good coach, and they called him Alex Leatherwood, their first round pick. They're all working out, man. They're all performing. So I think they could grab one of the wild card spots. I don't think they could win their division, but I think they could grab one of the wild card spots. And then now to say something about the Raiders. The Raiders drafted Josh Jacobs in the first round a few years ago, and then they paid Kenyon Drake $5.5 million to be his backup, which is, by the way, a top 15 running back pay in the league. And even though Jacobs was injured, Peyton Barber got the chunk of the carries. Kenyon Drake wasn't even involved. And then Miami, Tua was injured, so Jacoby Brissett came in the game. It was a pretty good game, to be honest. They won in overtime. Brissett scrambled to score with no time left and then scored on a 2-point conversion. And then it just went back and forth. They both kicked field goals in overtime. And then the Raiders kicked a field goal with 2 minutes and 29 seconds left to win the game. What's your opinion on this game, or what do you have to say about this game?
Fun game. The Raiders have a knack for playing in really exciting games so far this season. This was a great one. Obviously going into overtime, anytime you have that, it's a fun watch. But Derek Carr is kind of playing out of his mind right now. We saw this obviously before he broke his leg when he was having a really good season. I think 2-3 years ago, when he was an MVP candidate.
That was wild.
Yeah, that was wild. But right now he's right back in that race again. So I think Derek Carr is playing really well. John Gruden's coaching a really good team. And then, they got speedsters at wide receiver and Henry Ruggs. He was another guy that was called a bust as well, too. Yeah. But, sometimes you just got to give these guys a little bit of time to develop. And obviously when you have that kind of speed, if you work on your craft quite a bit, you can make an impact in the game. So I like the Raiders. Like you said, tough division to be in with the Chargers and the Chiefs. But I think they have a serious chance to make the playoffs, and I think they will, honestly, this year.
Well, awesome. Let's go into the final game, which is the Bucks versus the Rams. And to be honest, again, as an unbiased fan, the Rams are so good. They are the best team in football. They're stacked, man. Sean McVay is insanely talented. He can scheme for that offense well. Guys are literally open all the time. I don't know if you saw Deshaun Jackson's touchdown, but he was just wide open for that. Cooper Kupp is open all the time. I mean, that guy's from Eastern Washington, by the way, so represent. Yep. Represent. And then Matthew Stafford, okay, this is where I differ with most people. I think Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback. I don't think he's elite. He started, but to the point, he did start the game 1 for 6 with 7 yards, and then just exploded. He went 26 for 32 from then on out, 336 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then the defense is stacked. Aaron Donald, Sebastian Joseph-Day, Jalen Ramsey. And then the Rams face the Cardinals next week to take the top of the NFC West. And the Bucks did not step up against the Rams. They couldn't get any pressure on Stafford. They had 1 sack in this game, which is not characteristic for the Bucks. And then Brady threw the ball 55 times, completing 41 of those for 432 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then, also a thing with Tom Brady. So next week, in the first quarter, he will break Drew Brees' record for the most passing yards of all time. Unless he gets injured, all he needs is 68 yards, and then he'll pass Drew Brees for 80,358. And then an issue with the Bucs I saw as well. They couldn't run the ball at all. Tom Brady was their leading rusher with 14 yards. And then back to the Tom Brady thing. My bad. Tom Brady faces New England next week, so that's even more exciting. What's your thoughts on the Tampa Bay and Rams game?
So yeah, the tough thing for Tampa Bay is they just couldn't run the ball at all.
Yeah.
So that obviously makes it just from the get-go hard when your offense completely becomes one-dimensional. And then with how good of a Rams defense they have, with how good of a defense the Rams have, when you can make a team one-dimensional, it's just going to be a tough day at the office for them. No, the Rams solidified themselves as a serious Super Bowl contender today. Obviously we knew they were going to be good going into the season after picking up Stafford and having everybody come back from injuries and stuff like that. But I think they're the front runner right now for me, them and the Bills and whatnot. But it was an exciting game. And then, of course, Brady going back to New England next week. And now he's doing it coming off a loss. So he's going to be upset and he's going to be wanting to take it out on his old team, the Patriots. So that'll be exciting. But yeah, it was an interesting game. I think the Rams just had a really good game plan going in. Obviously, Sean McVay, one of the best coaches in the NFL, and he just had a good game plan. That's kind of what I noticed to me, is that they just had a better scheme for what these two teams colliding were going to do.
Well, Drew, thank you very much for coming on, dude. It was great talking football with you.
Yeah, it was fun.
It's fun just to bounce back and forth with each other talking football. And it was a great time. Thank you for tuning in to The Weekend Update with Trevor Junt.